Good morning. Yesterday was not a great day. And it was a perfectly culminated. I don't even know if that's the right way to use that word. Um, in this one thing this one moment last night before I went to bed. So, I don't know. It started off okay. But I think when I got back from my walk, I made the mistake of answering answering too many messages. There's like a window of time before I start work where I check messages and emails to make sure there's nothing like on fire, basically. But yesterday, I started replying and getting into a conversation, and I think that was a mistake because it just absolutely shot my focus. Um, and so when I started work, or when I started to sit down and focus, like my mind was just going all over the place and I could not focus. And fortunately, I was able to rein it back in long enough to get my first engagement report sent out. Oh boy, got some doggos today. Okay. Um, but see, there's so much context. The main priority has been I'm trying my visa here is running out. Somehow it's been 2 months. um, my visa is running out and I'm trying to extend it. And I got a certain e-visa that should allow me to extend online. It should be super easy. You just go online, you click the extend button, you pay, and you're done. That's exactly why I got this type of visa. The alternative is you have to go in person, wait in line, you have to give over your passport. It takes like 2 hours, and you have to come back a different day, and it's just like a pain in the butt. Um, the other alternative is to get a travel agency to just do it for you, or a visa agency. And but the problem is the I don't think my theory is that my something went wrong. So my visa is not linked to the online system correctly. So the online system doesn't think I'm in the country yet. And so I'm like, all they need to do is say I'm in the country, and then the button will appear, and I can extend it, and like that's all I need. And it's taken me forever to figure this out because I've been like, oh, maybe the button only appears 2 weeks before 2 weeks before the visa expire, and so it's just like, and they have this live chat feature on their website, and I did this before, and I asked, and this was like 3 weeks before, and they gave me some generic response, which was like, oh, please extend your visa 2 weeks before it expires. And so I was like, oh, okay. So the button must appear only starting 2 weeks before. Turns out it didn't. So anyway, back to yesterday. I started this live chat and I was like, I know exactly, or I have a theory of exactly how I need to fix this. I just need someone to like go in and do this. And so I started a live chat, and last time it took them an hour to respond. This time, I started at like 9:30, 10, and an hour went by, and then 2 hours, still just waiting, 3 hours, 4 hours. Got to be lunchtime. I was like, I can't really go anywhere because like I need, if they respond, like I need to be here. And so I ate lunch like at my laptop, and then like after that I kept like doing stuff, and then it's like multitasking with trying to figure out some other things here. It doesn't really matter, but just the point is like multitasking, task switching so much, and I didn't take a break. And so I mean I took a break to eat lunch, but just like I felt like I just kept grinding away at my focus, and 5 hours went by, 6 hours, nobody responded, and eventually it got to be 3 p.m., which is like they stopped responding to live chats. It's like between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. And so I was like, well, they didn't respond to me at all today, so, and they don't respond after 3 p.m., so I guess I'll do it tomorrow or something. And so I was like, well, I didn't like do anything productive. I mean, I got an engagement report out, which is good, but like I didn't do anything, like I didn't get anything done. And so it was like 4 p.m. and I'm like, all right, well, I need to get a haircut and I need to go to this DHL shipping place. And maybe at the very least I can get those things done today. And then I packed up my bags and I was like, do I really, like, am I really gonna go to this DHL place? And so like, I won't go into it. I'm trying to ship my old phone. But I was like, I thought the decision had been made. But now I started questioning it. And so I'm like, okay, well maybe the decision hasn't been made. And so now I need to backtrack, and I'm back to what's the next decision I need to make. And so I was like, all right, well, I guess screw that. So I'll just go get a haircut. And so I walked to the place. And last time I went, I just went in as a walk-in, and there was just like one other guy there. And it worked well. And this time, I walked all the way there. It was like 18-minute walk. I felt like walking because I needed to do something, not staring at my screen yesterday. And I walked in, and there were two people getting their hair cut. There were two guys cutting the hair, and then one of them was a kid, and what looked like two parents for the kid there. So it's like, cool. It'll be like, I don't know, 15, 20-minute wait. And the guy's like, oh, sorry, there are two other people, like, next, basically. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, oh, like, about how long will it be? And he's like, oh, it's like 4:30. Oh, like maybe an hour or so, like maybe 6 p.m. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I looked down at my phone, and at this, like, with all the context of like my brain is not able to function anymore. I like looked down at my phone, like as if that's gonna give me an answer. And I was like, okay, well, like, I'm not gonna wait an hour and a half to get a haircut here. I'll just come back another day. And so I was like, well, now what do I do? And so I was like, well, thank you. And I left, and I just walked back, and I walked back to this restaurant, and I was like, my brain can't even, like, I felt disappointed, but like my brain couldn't even process feeling the disappointment. It was such a weird, like, it was just like, oh, okay, well, I guess now what? um, and so I walked to this Italian restaurant, and I was like, all right, I need food first, and then like we'll figure out what we do next. And I got a pizza and pasta. This place was like amazing. The pizza is amazing, um, and pasta was very good as well. And got gelato. Anyway, I just sat and like thought, and then I came back, and it was like, or I went to the beach, watched sunset, and then came back, and it was like 6:30, and this is where I have questions, you know. I came back and it was like 6:30-ish, and I was like, well, you know, I have like an hour and a half. Usually I go to bed at like, I set my phone bedtime routine to be at 8 p.m. so it gets all like black and white, and do not disturb turns on at 8 p.m. and so that's when like I usually wind down and like I'll do a meditation, and then I'll like start my bedtime routine 8:15 or so. And so I was like, well, at 6:30, I feel like I need to like be productive, you know, like I need to do something. And so I got my laptop out and I sat back down, and I don't even remember what I did. I even thought, and as I was getting my, excuse me, I even thought as I was getting my laptop out, I was like, you know, could this wait until tomorrow morning, when like my focus is better? And like, I didn't even answer the question. I posed the question, and I didn't even like answer it. I just like continued going through the motion of taking out my backpack. And so I sat down, I budgeted, and then I started. One of the things that was in one of my dump idea notes, was documenting some of my travel interests, with the idea of creating some kind of prompt or process that I can give to ChatGPT for it to give me recommendations on travels, restaurants, things to eat, stuff like that. I'm trying to make it like deeply personalized. And so I started on that, and that's like its own whole open loop of like, this could be its own like product basically. But I like started on that, and then it got to be 7 o'clock, 7:30, 7:45, got to be 8 o'clock, and I was like deep in this like travel recommendations, you know, ChatGPT conversation, prompts and recommendations, and like trying to figure out. And like 8:15, and then it was like 8:20, 8:30, when finally I was like, all right, why did we just blow by 8 p.m.? Like, why am I still working? Like, I need to go to bed. And it was so perfect. It was so perfect. I was sitting there on my laptop, and I was about finished, basically. And one of the staff, waiter, employee guys at Tribal comes over, and we've interacted a decent amount before, and he, for, how do I say this? He has brought my food out multiple times, and I tend to order a lot, and I have almost exclusively eaten at this tribal like hostel's restaurant kitchen for the past like 2 months. And for the past like 2 months, I have gotten into a fairly good routine, except for yesterday, of like working out in the afternoon, and like almost every day, like 4 p.m., 4:30 until like 5:30 ish, I would either run or walk or go to the gym, work out, run, and come back, and then I would immediately eat dinner. And so this guy has numerous times brought out my food for like dinner, and he has frequently gone like, "Oh, that's a big portion," and like kind of laughed, like pointing out that like I eat a lot, and so it's this guy, and he's like clearing one of the other tables, and I'm sitting there on my laptop, and he goes, I couldn't exactly hear, exactly what he said, but I think he said like, "Oh, how are you, brother?" And I like looked up and I was like, "I'm good. How are you?" And he said, I'm good." And he goes, you not work today? You not work out?" And it goes like this, "You not work out today?" And in that moment, it was like time slowed down. And I looked up at him. And in that moment, I looked down and I go, "No." And I didn't say anything else. Also, this is very pretty. I didn't say anything. I literally, it was like so much happened in like a split second. Like I felt, I didn't know what to say. Because immediately I was like, "Oh, yeah, I'm trying to like extend my visa and whatever." And, I went for a walk, sort of, but not really. Like today was not a great day. But it was like, I didn't have an excuse. And so I felt kind of awkward because I just like, I looked down back at my laptop, and like, he kind of like walked away, and I like continued working, or I continued like finishing up on my laptop. And so it was like kind of an awkward like conversation end. But as I closed my laptop and like processed what just happened, it was such a weird, like, it was this split between, first of all, like, so I found it funny, as well as like appreciative that he remembered me and that he thought to like bring it up. Like, I'm the guy who works out and comes back and eats a big portion of food. And so like seeing him go from like, we've only ever interacted just like whatever through food, bringing out food, to now him like bringing this up to me, is like, I appreciated that. That was very nice. And I thought it was also kind of funny. But at the same time, I was like, I felt ashamed. I felt like disappointed. I felt like, obviously this wasn't his intention. But like, given all of the context of like this stressful day I was just went through, like, I felt like I was called out. And he was absolutely right. And so I was sitting there thinking, like, this felt like a sign. This felt like a warning shot. It felt like, perfectly placed sign at the end of the day. Just, oh, 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 you didn't work out today? Why didn't you work out today? Oh, you don't have an excuse. Oh, you don't have an excuse. Oh, okay. Interesting. And like, I felt ashamed of my answer because like I didn't have an excuse. And so, like, I appreciated that for what it was, you know? That for the warning shot, being called out. And as I was, like, brushing my teeth, I was thinking about this. I was thinking about how, actually from, in the book Don't Die by Bryan Johnson, I just finished it a couple days ago. There's this part of the conversation where he talks about, or they talk about, it's such a weird book, but it's a good book. It's free on Kindle. I don't know. I feel like I'm promoting it. I don't have anything to promote. It's a really interesting thought experiment if you're looking for that. They talk about, like, what would you say? That, like, we all have multiple personality, not multiple. It could be said as like personality. Like, I have a morning Peter and an evening Peter, and it's as if, well, in Bryan Johnson's case, like, evening Bryan was causing his overall self the most amount of issues, like binge eating, falling into temptations at night, and things that would push back his sleep, that would affect morning Bryan. And I thought back to that part of the book, and I was like, it's kind of exactly what they were talking about. Like, it's as if in the evening I don't have the impulse control. Like, why did I think that I could be productive at 6:30? And why did I think that after an hour of working from 6:30 to 7:30 to 8, why did I think that's starting something that I could properly stop it at 8 p.m. and go to bed? Like, how many times have you, Peter, have you done that in the past? Like, it's so hard to stop something in the middle. And I talked about this with the Czech girl from a couple weeks ago. But it's like, I felt the desire to finish what I had started. And so it's hard to stop that mid work, mid project. It's like, but I'm almost done. And I just got to do this one more thing. And then 8:10 turns to 8:15, turns to 8:20. And it's like, I should have stopped 15 minutes ago. But it comes back to that decision at 6:30 of, why did I think I could do something properly, do work properly, and then finish and start my bedtime routine I don't know. There's an argument that they make that's like, oh, well, your evening self is just as much a human as your morning self. And so, like, why should you get the right to like demote your evening self. Like why does your morning self get the power to say, oh, your evening self doesn't get the privilege to make decisions here? And as I was reading that, I was like, but it's like, and they go into this, it's like, but there's like sciencey stuff that shows you that you can make better decisions in the morning. And so like you are already handicapped in the evening. And so, and I already know this about myself. It's like, I do my best work in the morning. Like, my evening self is already at, like, I don't even know, 20%, 15% capacity to, like, make decisions. But it's those decisions that he thinks he makes that are reasonable and logical that end up affecting morning Peter. Because it's like, oh, logical conclusion. I should be able to do some work here in the evening, and then I'll get to bed on time. But then he doesn't value the 8 p.m. like cutoff. It's like, no, 8 p.m. is when we start to do our, evening routine. But like, evening Peter doesn't seem to value that. And why is that? It's like, oh, it's 8:05, 8:15, I just gotta finish this thing, it's 8:30, it's like, it's not that important, I'll get to bed whenever. But it's like, why? You're just harming, you're just harming morning Peter. You're just harming the focus that you could be making in the morning. So, I get it. I understand why Bryan Johnson made that decision. I understand now. So, if you're still listening, thank you for listening. We're back at the hostel. I did my long loop today because I needed to get it all out, You can't win every day, But I find that days like yesterday give me a lot more perspective. So, the other thing I was going to say, it's like a downward spiral. It's like your evening self doesn't value the 8 p.m. cutoff for going to bed, which then affects your sleep, which then affects your ability to make decisions in the morning. And it's like, it's just this downward spiral. That was the only thing I wanted to mention. But anyway, I'm going to go hopefully chat with someone from immigration today. That is like my sole focus, my sole goal. It's like, get this thing fixed. Hopefully, today they respond. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.